Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Into the Arena. I'm Sean Corcoran here with my co host, Andrew Wood. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to talk about biblical masculinity. You know, you sent me a video last night, which ironically I was thinking about yesterday during the day. And, I think that gets us a great conversation. This video was an interview with a sex offender,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked him, what do you look for when you're looking for your victims? And he said, well, I look to the dad, and if the dad doesn't seem like a threat, then I know that's an easy victim. And I think that's really powerful. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's when it came across my feed last night, I sent it to you because the dude that was sharing it is like, I mean, he said it himself. He let himself go,
Yeah.
and so he's watching and he's saying, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
I represent that. If someone was looking at my family right now, they would go, "Hey, that dude's not a threat." And look, I don't think now some people are taking it to be like you got to be the Rock or chiseled and have the abs and everything. I mean, I think I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think what it's saying is you have to be the next CrossFit champion. I think what it's saying is, are you capable in times of chaos, or in when a wolf is knocking at the door, are you capable to intervene on behalf of your family?
Right.
And will that wolf see you as the shepherd that's going to protect his flock or not? And I do think, I mean, I think we can get theological with it. Go back to the garden. The serpent saw that Adam wasn't engaged. He wasn't paying attention. I mean, the scripture clearly says she ate of the apple and handed it to Adam, and he did the same. And so again, you don't have to. It wasn't like Adam was morbidly obese or let himself go. I mean, he hadn't been around that long. So he just wasn't paying attention. And so when we are in those scenarios, and you even said before we got on today, like you were working out, you felt good, and it's like, why am I trying to get strong? Why am I trying to do these things? It's why I was up early this morning while everybody else is asleep. Why am I doing these things? Well, it's because I want to feel good. I'm getting older. I want to. I mean, I think we can say it. I want to look good, but also I want to, if the time ever comes, I want to be able to intervene. It's the same thing I tell my oldest son. I'm like, buddy, if I'm on the road and something happens, or God forbid there's a fire or something is going on, I was like, you have to get your sisters out of this house and your mom, period. And now some would say, well, that's a lot of weight to put on your boy, but he's not a boy anymore. I mean,
Who
he'll be
else is going to do
15.
it?
Yeah, he'll be 15 in March. I'm like, no, I need you to step in and help. And you see things like that occur. Or I watched the video one time where a stroller got blown by the wind, and they went to chase it and they fell because they hadn't ran in 20 years.
Right.
They tried to get up and they fell again while their child is rolling away. And again, there's going to be moments where maybe, look, I'm not the best swimmer. I mean, I went on my honeymoon and my wife wanted to go snorkeling in the ocean. I literally said, well, there's no reason for both of us to die. So I'll make phone calls, but I may come back without you. If you go under, I'm not going to be able to. I need to work on that. But there's other ways. There's other things we can do to make sure that we're stepping up. And I think when we talk about biblical masculinity, yeah, it's not like looking jacked and participating in the next world games or anything like that. But it is, what am I doing to keep myself healthy, so if a wolf were to come, I can be there? What am I doing to keep my mind healthy? What am I doing to keep my heart healthy? What am I doing to keep my walk with the Lord healthy? Am I putting in the work to do those things? And it's hard. I get it. People are like, I don't want to get up before everybody else gets up, or I don't want to stay up after everybody goes to bed and read, or I don't want to. I get it. It's hard. But are we making the time to do the things that we need to do to be the men that we've been called to be?
Right. And I think, I do think there's a point where, as a man, there is there is something innate about pushing our physical limits. Wanting to see how strong we are. There's a friend of mine, an old coach that I had who posted something one time, and it was a reel of him bench pressing his wife, and he says, "If you can't bench press your wife, you're the wife." Now I know a lot of couples where that is it would defy physics, right? For that to be possible, and it doesn't mean that anyone's less of a man or
Right.
or or whatever. But I think that it's an important thing to think about. When it comes to, am I capable? Am I the person who she can count on? Because that's really what it's all about. Am I the person that she can count on? Am I the person that my kids can count on to handle any situation that may come our way? And if you're never doing anything physical, if you're not pushing yourself, then just like anything else, you're not going to be prepared should it ever happen. And I think that there is the added benefit of looking good for your wife, right? Like that's a positive,
Right.
like we should want to make her happy, and and we should want that intimate relationship for the entire length of our marriage. And so to let ourselves go is, and I've been there, man. I've been 300 pounds and miserable and struggling to walk around the neighborhood. And that's what it took for me to get to the point where I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. Like who am I as a dad and as a husband, not just who am I as a guy? 'Cause nobody would ever say anything, right? Like nobody tells the fat guy, hey man, like you're fat. And they should. I mean, there's got to be a better way to say it than the way that I just said it, but we should be honest with each other because sometimes it takes that way. Like, I mean, I was a drug addict. Like, hey, bro, stop doing drugs. Like it's okay to be honest with each other so that we don't get so far into it that we cannot serve the people that we are put here to serve. And I think that's a point of fraternal correction, and I think that's a point of being a man too. I saw there's a new series on the Daily Wire app. It's called the Pendragon Merlin, the Pendragon Cycle, I think. It's about Merlin from King Arthur, but it's about Merlin being a Christian. Okay. And relying on God. It's only released the third episode, so I don't know the extent that it goes, but it's a Christian take on Merlin. I think there's a series of novels. But in this episode that came out last week, Merlin is talking to a king, and he challenges the king boldly, and calls him out. And the king's looking at him like, are you crazy? Like, nobody talks to me like that. And he's silent for a minute, and he's just pondering, and he says, and then he says, okay. He says, nobody is bold enough to talk to me and tell me the truth. And I think that is an important part of it, of being a man as well, is to be able to tell someone the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and not to and not to walk in the lies, because people know, like, dude, and I don't want to make this whole conversation about fraternal correction and telling people when hey, like you may want to pay attention to this, but if at any point when I was 300 pounds somebody had said, hey, like, you all right? Like what's going on? 'Cause I'm worried about your health. Maybe it would have prompted me to do something sooner.
Yeah.
Instead of, let's go party. Let's not say anything. We don't want to hurt Sean's feelings. My feelings are like, I have mirrors.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And so, and look, it's not all about weight, but anything, I think there is an opportunity when we see people, friends especially, and I think it only works with friends, but when we see people kind of straying away from what we know they know to be true and good and beautiful, right? Is an opportunity there to say, hey, you know, what's going on? So I ticked off my best friend one time. He had texted me about something that was going on. It was a Sunday morning. It was a Sunday morning. He was texting me how everything was chaos in his house. And my response was, maybe you should pack him up and go to church. And because that's what I do. Like when everything's crazy, like I look to God and I'm like, hey, I need help. And it's Sunday morning. Like we need to go to church. And it's always chaos here. And I said that, and his response was something to the effect of, it was anger, like, you know, holier than thou came out of the other side. And it's the first time I'd ever said anything to him like this. But I think that the reason that it drove an emotional response is because there was truth behind it, even though I may not have recognized what I was saying had that impact, that there was truth behind it. I think that as men, we are able to hear the truth. And while we may not like to hear it at the moment that we're being told, I think that it resonates and it gives us an opportunity to recenter and say, hey, here are the things that I need to do. And I think that applies to all of the pillars, if you will, of biblical masculinity, you know, when it comes to, you know, our emotions, you know, and I say the pillars of biblical masculinity, I'm just stealing this, you know, I'm ripping this off from an episode I saw of Nick Freitas. He says he's got 5 pillars of biblical masculinity: spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, professional. So whether you have those or others, right? That having a reminder and having people in place that are willing to call you out, or being the person who is willing to call someone out, who we're close to on that, I think is really important. And I think that that's a big part of being a man.
Well,
So
that's
not what we were talking about, but it just made me think about all that.
But I think even if we take those that you just listed, you know, spiritual, I think we also need to be willing to look inward and go, am I where I need to be? Am I where I need to be for my wife? Am I where I need to be for my kids? Am I where I need to be for my family? So if you're at church and they reference a scripture and you're like, I've never heard that in my life, let that be a conviction of like, okay, I need to dig in. Or if something's going on with your kids and you're like, no, I really don't know how to answer that. Okay, look inward and go, maybe you don't need that friend to be like, hey, dummy, like read your Bible. Go, you know, maybe we just can look inward and go, okay, I was reading, I'm reading through the Bible this year. I'm in Exodus right now. I was reading last night, looked up at my wife and said, I've never read this verse in my life. And it was about the building of the temple and how God created and gave gifts to people to work with their hands, to build, to carve, to sew. And I'm reading through that and I'm going, man, like the blue collar guys I know, this should touch their heart. Like God is saying right here, none of this is going to happen without the ones that can use their hands and work. And so he wasn't saying, hey, Moses, I need you to carve this. He was saying, Moses, I'm going to give you some dudes that know how to work with their hands, because you probably don't, that can do that. And so are we willing to, I was willing to, I didn't just say it inwardly. I looked at my wife and was like, hey, I do ministry and I'm a professional Christian and I've never read this in my life. You know, like I think those are important things to recognize and understand. And what kind of rhythms are we creating? So, okay, if I want to be stronger, then I know what progressive strength training looks like. If I want to get stronger, it takes a progress. So I might have lifted this much this week. I'm going to lift this much in next week or a couple weeks. The same thing is with scripture. So spiritually, it's progressive sanctification. Every day we're growing more and more like Christ. What are we doing to make that happen? Because if we just sit here on our hands and don't read the word and don't pray and don't practice the things that we've been called to practice, not a lot of progress is going to happen. And so we've been called to action in that way spiritually. And I do think that's important, that for men to not just do the woe is me, I'm Eeyore, I'm just going to be like down in the dumps all the time, but say, here's a place in my life spiritually. Let's just go down these. We'll start with this one. Here's a place in my life spiritually where I'm weak. I can either just waller in it, or I can say, what do I need to do to grow stronger in that aspect? And I think then it's going, okay, I'm going to make some changes. Does that mean I stay up after everybody goes to bed? Does that mean I get up before everybody gets up? Does that mean at lunch? Where is it? Where are you fitting that in to create those practices and rhythms that are just going to be natural for us? And I think, I mean, then I think you become that spiritual man that you might have thought was unattainable for your family.
Right. And and it is for your family because, when how can you lead your family, especially how can you lead your family to God, which I hope is the ultimate goal for everyone who's paying attention. We want our kids to have great careers. We want our kids to have great families. We want our kids to have a great retirement, but we want our kids to get to heaven. And the same thing with our wives. Like we want, all these things for our wives and happiness on earth, but we want our wives to get to heaven. And so how are we going to lead our families and anyone else who's watching in that goal if we do not have a strong personal relationship with God? And look, like you bring up getting up early or going to bed late, that shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Right.
To say, hey, I'm going to wake up 30 minutes early so I can read scripture, because if I don't wake up 30 minutes early, then I'm going to wake up in the middle of chaos with everyone else. And, while I have a goal of reading scripture every day, the world is going to stop me, and maybe it's stay up late, man. Like I'm not a night person. Like I prefer to wake up at 4:30 and have that time to do what I want to do before everybody gets up. And then by, I'm going to say what time I go to bed, but it's not long after the kids go to bed. And so it shouldn't be that hard, like, because you want to be the leader, and you need that time to yourself, but you also can't sacrifice the time that you have with your family to have that time to yourself. Right. And so it has to be when they're sleeping.
And what a sweet interruption is if they catch you doing that. Like
Yes.
you are now modeling for them. I love hearing kids say things like, I walked in on dad and he was reading his scripture like he does every morning. I'm like, that's so great. That's just man, wouldn't that be a sweet interruption that they catch you in the act? And it is like you're diving in to what the Lord would have for you. Or the same thing if they, you're up at 5 and you're doing pull-ups and they walk in, they're like, oh, okay. They're making mental notes like, okay, this is you got to make time for these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And because they're watching, and like my 11-year-old, John Francis said, he just came to me one day and he's like, I want to get up with you and go work out in the morning. I don't want to go work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to be honest. Like that's not the time I would choose.
Right.
Unless I have a completely full day and it's the only time I have, that's not what I want to do. But I do want to work out with my son, and that's the only time we could do it together. And this dude, for the past, I don't know, man, it's been like 3 months now, maybe 4, has woken up on his own at 4:45 twice a week, and come downstairs like ready to go. And
that's great.
And it's because he's watching, right? Like they want to be the good that they see in us.
Yep.
And they see way more good in us than there really is.
Yeah.
and they want that. So if you're not modeling that, then what is it that they're seeing? Because it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Like either they want to be the good, or they just want to not be the bad.
Yeah. Because the
And
last thing you want is them to go, well, now all I've done is watch my dad and I know what not to do. I mean,
right,
like you gave them a legacy,
yeah,
but wouldn't you much rather be like a Paul that says, imitate me? Because if you imitate me, you're imitating Christ, because that's how I live my life. Like, wouldn't that be the motivation, versus like, because I've worked for folks before where I literally take no good things away. I walk away going, well, now I know how not to lead. That's what I
yeah.
know. And I did learn something, but that's just not a legacy you won't live. What was the next one after spiritual?
Intellectual.
Intellectual. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one too. Like I talk to a lot of people. They're like, well, I don't read. I think it's a badge of honor for men to say they don't read. I would just say,
I'm going to say
well,
I disagree with that.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would. I mean, if it's audible, if it's do something, you have to work on your mind, um, and it is so important. That's where reading scripture is important, not just spiritually but intellectually, so that when your teenager comes to you with something, what are you going to say? Have you thought about, have you read and been discipled, not just personally, but have you read some of the greats and listened to how they communicate, so that you can communicate to folks? If people are watching this and they want to speak, or they want to, do men's events or anything like that, then I'm telling you, if you are not reading and writing on a regular basis,
yeah,
it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I'm not even saying write for other people's eyes. Journal. Like, you just need to be communicating, writing and thinking and processing constantly, especially the good things of God. I mean, I even tried to sit down last night briefly to watch something, and the words they were communicating. And I'm not typically a stick in the mud when it comes to some of that, but I was just like, why do they got to talk like that? But when I'm far away from God, those things don't bother me. When I'm near to the Lord, certain things start to convict me because I'm contemplating the things of God. And that happens with intellectual. Now, I'm not saying don't. I would also say, and I think you would agree, don't just read things you agree with. Don't just read kind of the folks that are on your team. We need to be able to, especially in our line of work, we need to be able to argue and debate our issue that we care deeply about from both sides. And I think you would probably speak to that as an attorney. It's beneficial to be able to communicate in that way.
yeah. And I mean, that's the whole reason that that we're doing this, the Men for Life podcast, doing this series on, what should the pro life movement want, where we're talking to people who have opposing views, and and I might agree with some of them. I probably disagree with some of them on most of the things they think. But I think that's really important, is to take it all in, because how else can you really be sure that you're formulating the best possible argument for your position if you don't even understand what the argument for the other position is,
Mhm.
right? And so I agree. I mean, look, and it's hard. My son the other day came in with a new book, and I know he's not done with the book he was reading, and I questioned him on it. And he's like, "Dude, you're reading 16 books at once," and he's right. Now, some of them are more like, I've got my devotional, and I've got
Yeah.
the Bible, and I've got some things that I'm reading to learn about this, and some things that I'm learning about this, and then some that I just want to read. But all of that to say, it's hard to take it all in, right? Like if I say that you should read The Abolition of Man, regardless of who you are, I believe that. If you're
Yep.
already got 5 books on your plate and you're like, man, there's another one, like, You have until you die.
Yep.
Like the point is like to read, and there's so much science out there. Like if you really want to read, you could start reading about the science of the benefit of reading and the science of the benefit of writing your
Hmm.
thoughts, and how that benefits your brain for longevity and how that benefits your brain for normal day-to-day communication. And so there's just so much benefit to that on how you can improve as a person, as a man, by doing those things. But the goal as a leader of your family, you have to be able to provide sound guidance and wisdom. If your wife and your kids can't look to you for sound guidance and wisdom, then where are they looking?
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to find it somewhere. And that's the thing. I think too, as a practical tool, what I do is as I'm reading, and I'm talking about uh, social media posts, articles, books, well, it doesn't matter. If there's a sentence or a quote or a comment that resonates with me, I pull out my phone and I have a notes tab in my phone that just says it's titled ideas. That's it. And I pull out that note and I write that sentence in there, or I write that comment or I write that quote. Because there's sometimes I'll read a sentence and I go, I just really like the way they structured and said that. I wish I could write like that. And so it
Yeah,
may not even have a theological point. It may just be a well written sentence in a Western that I'm reading that I thought, man, if I could turn a phrase like that, that's going to make me a better communicator. I need to just put it in a note. And so just start practicing. And it's super easy. I mean, I'll listen to a sermon and they'll say something that resonates and I pull my phone out, I type it real quick and I'm done. And it's there now. If I'm ever at a point where I'm like, what do I want to write about? What do I want to talk about? I go to that notes tab and I just start scrolling. What's jumping out at me? And I have material immediately. But also there's moments in that where, like you said, your kids, your family come to you and something you read, something you heard just immediately floods your mind. And you're like, oh, I can talk to you about this because of fill in the blank. And again, it's not I do think we're at a point in time now in society where there's probably, because of Audible and different things, there's a lot more people that are ingesting books than probably in the past. With self-publishing, there's a lot more people writing books, certainly. And I do think it's a positive thing to go after your intellect just as much. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to my kids will even tell you, they're like, he writes very different than he talks. I mean, there's sometimes I write, I'm like, I can't even, if I put that in something I'm going to say, I have to practice that word to say it right. Uh, and so I'm not telling you to change who you are. I'm just saying you're not going to regret, uh, focusing on that. What's the next one after intellect?
emotional, and not a lack of emotion, but the ability to control
Yeah.
your emotions, self control.
Yeah. And I think this is for me, I I don't think I have an issue controlling emotions. I think my issue is showing any
Yeah,
any any emotions. And I don't think I think that's a learned trait. I think and, we can use this as an excuse. Well, that's how I was raised. We kind of do that a lot. But there are times where my kids, my wife need to see some emotion from me. The biggest struggle we have, my wife and I share this, is like at Christmas when we get gifts, we struggle to get excited. It's just not, I'm not good at that, never have been good at that. But it almost makes, when the kids are so pumped and I'm like, oh, thanks, it's like deflating their excitement. And so this is one I probably struggle with greatly, not necessarily controlling. I feel like I have pretty good self control, but it's showing positive, good emotions when I need to.
yeah. So one of the things that Nick Freitas says is that men generally show their emotions with either sarcasm or anger.
Yes.
Because in sarcasm or anger, it cannot be seen as weak, and men do not want to be seen as weak. And I think that's that 100% describes me as a human being. Like those are the two things coming out of my mouth. That sarcasm more than anger, thankfully. And I've had to tone it way back because Michelle takes my sarcasm as literalism, and then we're fighting about something that didn't actually happen, because what I said as a joke was not taken as a joke.
Yes.
And I certainly don't mean the way she took, and so to be able to control that as well, I guess, But the idea is, and I'm gonna ask you about this, because what I saw in the video that I watched was, to put it under the lordship of Christ. That when you feel these emotions coming up, to put it under the lordship of Christ. That is not a Catholic phrase. So do you mind explaining, to me, like what your interpretation of those words means?
Yeah, I would think that, I don't want to speak for them, but to me, when I hear that, it's everything we do. So our emotions, our speech, our actions, the way we love, the way we care, when we're sarcastic, everything we do should be put through a funnel and a lens of who God says we are, and who He is. And so if we find ourselves struggling with anger because we want it a certain way, or even if it's righteous anger, uh, but we blow up, and all our kids know is there's no like excitement, happy. There's either mundane or anger. Well, then we need to put that under the lordship of Christ and say, I need you, Lord, to do what I can't do. I need you to shape me and mold me to a place where I can actually be happy. And look, the best example I can give, when my son back in October shot the elk, when he turned, and again, I'm not good with emotion, but when he turned and looked at me, and there was other dudes there. I was the first one he ran to. We embraced. We're both crying. We're like, that was, to me, that was like this moment of, oh, I can freely celebrate and enjoy this moment with my boy, and he can freely celebrate and enjoy this moment with his dad. And it was like, I'm hungry for more of that.
Yeah.
But I struggle to do that on the regular with, like, he puts a video together and I'm like, yeah, it's good. Great job. Now, I'm not saying every moment we should be embracing and crying tears of joy and all that, but am I putting some of this, because the Wood men, like my last name's Wood, so the men in my family, we just don't really show emotion.
Right.
And so we really need to put that under Christ and say, mold me so that I can weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. I've been commanded to do that.
Yeah.
And I struggle to do that. And it doesn't make me weak. I mean, we were watching American Idol last night, and there was a story. You know how they're so good at telling stories.
Yeah.
And it was all I could do. It was wrecking me, and I'm holding my son, and the story was about a young lady that had died. And I mean, I had my daughters on the couch, and I'm like, I can't watch American Idol and like cry. But it was like this moment of everybody in the room is like, this is an emotional time. And so how do you navigate that? But also in moments of uncertainty or chaos, where is your emotional level? Because that's when you need to dial it down and be able to think rationally, logically, and they need to look to you as the leader, not as we don't want to go to daddy because I don't have a clue what he's going to do when the crap hits the fan. Like, you got to be that calm person. So that's where self-control comes in too. Even though you may yourself be afraid, how are we channeling that to lead our family well in that moment?
Like, is the action or reaction that I'm feeling going to lead me to a decision that is to the glory of God?
Yeah. Amen.
That's something else that I wrote down. Or
Yeah.
is it going to be something that just appeals to the baser instinct, or be serving something or someone else that I do not
Hmm.
want to be serving?
Yep.
And I think that it's easy to see with anger, right?
Yeah.
I think anger comes very, very natural to me. I don't weird things that I get frustrated about. I think I've shared before that I grew up in a family where everyone is right.
Yeah.
Even if we all disagree. so,
Yes.
it makes it's just a weird place to come from, and rationally and objectively, I recognize that is absolute crap. Right. But,
Yeah.
but that's the frame of reference that I came from. And so I've had to work really hard to not get frustrated about not being right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that in a way that makes sense, but like, it's just, it's hard. And man, it's really hard for me to talk to you, because when I say I got 5 kids and I want it to land with an impact, and you've got 6, it's like,
Yeah, man.
I'm not working hard enough, but,
Yeah, I got you.
but they're crazy, and there's chaos, and it's loud in this
No,
house,
it is there. It is loud.
and it doesn't snow
Yeah.
here, so I can make them go outside. Like, you're stuck
Yeah.
in it.
No, it is loud all the time. Like
And,
before we started recording, I went up and was like, no hair dryers, no coming around the door, no, because they're just loud. They
right.
don't know any other way.
And sometimes that loudness, you know, uh, is like getting to me while I'm trying to take care of whatever I'm trying to take care of.
Yep.
And it's creeping in and it's creeping in and it's creeping in. And then one of them
Yep.
just happens to be the one who steps over the edge. And it's not an edge that even would have occurred but for everything else that's happened. And I just lose it, man. And, and then they look at me like, why are you so mad? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so mad.
Yeah.
But
What I
don't make
love
me think,
is,
now I'm mad because you're questioning why I'm so mad.
and what I love is when I find myself yelling, stop yelling. That's what I love, is when the Lord is like, listen to literally what you're saying.
Yeah,
You are
you're
telling
alone in
them
that. That never happens here.
yeah. You're telling them to do the thing that you're doing. And it just is, yeah. It's one of those things. Obviously we need to work on the emotions. That's probably the one I probably need to work on the most, but,
100%.
yeah.
But
What was
it
the
all
next
comes
one?
in together. The next one's physical, and I think
Yeah.
that when we are taking care of our physical, of our bodies, taking care of our health, it allows us to let that stress out, even if
Yep.
that's not the goal. It does. It allows us to let that stress out so that, when the chaos ensues, we've already gotten it out, and it's easier. One of the things my dad used to do when I was growing up, and this is not something that I inherited, but he would, when he would get stressed, like something would happen that would tick him off. I don't really remember him ever yelling and stuff in the house, but I remember him going for a lot of runs.
Yeah.
Like he would just leave. I don't run, so there will be times when I'm like in the middle of it, and I'll just like get in the car and drive,
Yeah.
and and make the block a few times before I come back, just to kind of remove myself from the situation and come back. But it'd be way more healthier to do something physical, because that really does shift your mind, the brain chemicals and all that. But it really helps you to deal with your emotions. And so, it's interesting how that's all tied in, almost like if we use our body in the way that God created our bodies to be used, it helps our minds to be better prepared to be used in the way that God created them to be used.
Well, and he created us to go to bed tired. And
Yeah.
that's much harder to do in 2026, because back in the day, you farmed all day, you got up at the crack of dawn, and you came home. My papa milked cows twice a day every day. He died at 96. That man went to bed tired. That's why he went to bed at 8 o'clock every night, because he was tired. And there's something, because we're not, now there's some people listening to this and going, yeah, well, believe me, I'm tired. I do like manual labor. Okay, that's great. But for those that are going to hear this that don't do that on a regular basis, you got to make it. You got to create it. And so what does that look like? That's a a routine. That's a plan. Or it's going outside and walking, or it's getting a treadmill, or it's having your home gym, and it's doing something to create that effort. It's being active with your kids. It's not sitting on the couch and watching every every show that the world is talking about, because you don't have time. You don't have time. Now, I'm not saying don't watch, but we just don't have time to be doing some of these things. And that's why when people are like, well, I don't have time to do that, or that Cameron Haynes is always talking about, people say it must be nice. It's like, you have no idea. You think it's nice to run a marathon a day because that's what that dude does.
Right.
Like, no, that's insane. But I remember when 2020 hit, I was sickest I'd ever been, like right in January, February. Uh, and went to the doctor. Blood pressure was sky high. They took it like 3 or 4 times. I never thought I was unhealthy. I never would have said I was overweight, but I just kind of not been intentional on some things. And that was the wake up call that I needed. And for me, I have a obsessive personality. And so I just was like, I just did the Forrest Gump thing. I just started running, and it became, uh, it didn't, like, I ran 4 miles a day every day, 8 miles on Friday, no matter what, period. Like, if we had to be somewhere, I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go run. I became so, like, obsessed with it. And once it became a routine, I knew that it was just going to be what it was. And I would move it around so I could get it in, whatever day I needed to. And it's really amazing what your body can do. I mean, I remember last week, it's been the last 2 weeks here, it's been like single digit temperatures. And the thought of going running 4 miles in that is so foreign to me, but I literally did it back in the day. So what I know now is, if I want to, I can do it.
Yeah.
Now, do I want to do that now? No. But if I wanted to, I could do it. And
Right.
and so it's these wake up calls. It's my kids looking at old pictures of me and going, "Wow, Daddy, like that wasn't a good look." It's them being open about, hey, you've done some changes in a good way, from back then. It's, how are we creating these routines, just like we're practicing our emotions, our physical health, our spiritual health, all of this. Like, we have to make it uh, it must be a part of who we are. Because, and I
Right.
think too, I think maybe guys are different in this, but like when I'm out at Walmart, or when I'm at church, and you could ask my kids, you could ask my wife. I'll look at my wife, I'll look at them, and I go, well, that dude's jacked. I notice.
Yeah.
Why do I notice? Because it's different.
Yeah.
It is not the norm today. When I go to the airport, I notice when I look at a family and I'm like, okay, they are doing some things right. Maybe not everything right, but they at least got that in check. Like, you notice these things, and it does make a statement. But if it's making a statement for a stranger, think of what kind of statement it's making for those that you live with.
Yeah. What I love is that my kids will say, whether we're out somewhere or on TV, that their question
Yeah.
is he stronger than you?
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
means they see me as strong, right?
Yes.
It's not a question that they would have asked me when I was 300 pounds. Like, that we wouldn't even have been talking about it.
Yeah.
They would have just said, "Man, that guy's strong," right?
Yeah.
But for them to say, "Is he stronger than you?" And look, man, like, I'll be 48 this month. Like, yes,
Yeah.
that dude's stronger than me,
Yeah.
and he can run faster than me and jump higher
But
than
here's the
me.
thing: the chances of you working out in the same room or running with them is so slim.
Yeah,
I just am like, I don't know, man. I could
yeah.
be. I
We'll
could.
never
You
find
never
out.
know. We'll never know. Yeah.
I had, and this is just crazy, but I took two of the boys to the park one day, And this was I think I was with the workout coaches I had, we did a photo shoot it was at the end of the like my third year with them. And so like I was also like dieting down
Yeah, yeah,
to like carb manipulation and all that stuff. And so we go to the park and this kid runs up and he goes, "Are you the Rock?" And I was like, "What?" And
yes, yes, I am.
he said, "Are you the Rock?" And I was like, and there was something wrong with this kid, like on several levels, but it's still, this happened.
Yeah,
And I said, "No, I'm not the Rock." And he said, "How are you not the Rock?" And then he ran away and he's like, "Hey, everybody, it's the Rock."
yeah. Well,
Which
and I
was
think,
my two boys, like, still talk about that,
yep,
you know? And for anybody that's only seeing me on camera, I am a good 4 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter than
yeah,
the Rock was before whatever he's going through right now. Like,
yeah. Well,
not the Rock,
and
not the Rock.
but too, it is setting that that example, and I think it, when you start hearing those things, whether it's from those in your house or strangers. We were at a campground one time, and I came out and we were talking with other folks, and one of the other dudes that I didn't know was like, "No wonder y'all have 6 kids," or because in his mind he was like, "You're keeping your wife happy,"
Yeah.
and what I heard was, yeah, I do feel good about myself. I am putting in a lot of work and a lot of time, and for health and for a lot of reasons. But you are setting you're modeling for your kids, because I look back, when my kids look at those old pictures of me, we were all eating nonsense, and they look different too. Well, why did they look different? Because they were doing what we were doing. Now, why do they
You
look
were
different
leading them.
now? Yeah, they look different now because they're doing what we are doing. We're leading
Yeah.
them in a better direction. And so it takes sacrifice, it takes time. It's not there's plenty of times, and I know you're very regimented on kind of chicken and rice thing, or meat and rice,
Yeah.
uh but for us, I mean, there's definitely days where I'm like, we're eating that. Okay. Okay. And you just have to, like, it'd be so much easier to go get, a 12-piece chicken nugget and some fries and a honey bun to wash it down. Those are my days, back in the day. But again, it is being disciplined for a reason. I hear people say sometimes, well, you're going to die too, or, healthy people die young too. Like, I'm not saying you're doing this to somehow make it to 100 years old.
Right.
What I'm saying is that as long as you have, whether that's the next 5 hours or 100 more years, what are you doing to be the best version of yourself for your spouse, the best version of yourself for your kids, for your grandkids? My wife's grandmother, before she passed, she was 90 years old and would get on the floor with our kids and be able to get up by herself.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, because she wasn't jacked, she wasn't, none of that, but she had created a body that at 90 years old could get on the floor, completely laid down, and get up by herself. And I remember
Right.
thinking, that's a goal. What an amazing thing to get down on the floor with your great grandkids. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, what good is it to live to be 90 or 100 if you can't do anything? If you haven't taken care of the body that you're in, so that you can't
Hmm.
stand up. It's sad. Whereas the opportunity to just really live a good life, for the extent of your life, however long that life might be, is a great opportunity. My grandfather died, I think he was 60, with one leg,
Hmm.
probably smoking until the day they took him to the hospital, because he had diabetes, and he ate what he wanted, he drank what he wanted, he smoked what he wanted, and
Yep.
and lived how he wanted, and and it killed him, and and he wasn't healthy. Like, I remember seeing him in the hospital, and he was like, I don't know, 80, 90 pounds, and this was a big dude, like, my whole life. And so how do you want to live is a really good question. Like how do you really want to live for yourself and for your family? And
Hmm.
then I think the last one that we had to talk about was professional, which is, you know, being a provider. You know, I think I'm going to call out a scripture verse, and then I'm going to let you tell us what it is because I'm going to butcher it. But it's First Timothy 5:8 that talks about if a man doesn't provide, especially for his own family, then he is worse than a non-believer. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and I think the point is, and look, there's a lot of different uh, folks. I mean that doesn't mean you have to be the breadwinner. It doesn't mean that you got to make all the money. It doesn't mean that she needs to stay at home barefoot and pregnant. Although the Wood family kind of practices that, but but it doesn't mean those things. What it means is what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you doing anything? Are you providing, whether it be money in the bank account or uh, like true leadership at home? How are you providing for your family? Do you see that as a responsibility worth your effort? And sometimes you look at certain families and you're going, because here's the thing, some families I look at, yeah, he's providing every single penny to that family and nothing else.
Yeah,
And
that's a
I'm
really big
like,
deal.
and I'm like, that's not biblical masculinity, because he's missing all the other areas. Now he's providing, you know, and he may wear it as a badge of honor, like, oh look, all that we have is because of me. But I'm like, what else are you doing?
Yeah,
And so your kids, your wife need more than your money. They need that, but they need more than that. How are we creating an environment at home where our family's flourishing, not just with riches, but we're providing them? Again, if we're going to model these things, physically, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and professionally, we're going to set them up to do the same, especially our boys. We're setting them up to do the same. And our girls, we're letting them know what kind of man they will desire or look to when they're looking for a husband. And I think we get so caught up in just that's what we're doing in our world today. It's like, oh, well, you just don't like women. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just think a man has been designed to lead, to provide, to protect. Doesn't mean I don't like women. I think there are plenty of women out there that are great leaders. What I'm saying is, men have been designed to go after a mission. And if you have a family, your first mission is that. And so what are
yeah,
you doing to, again, all of these things? When the crap hits the fan, they're going to look to you for leadership. When things are going well, they're going to look to you. When the wolf is knocking at the door, they're going to look to you. How you handle those things is going to point to what type of masculinity you are living out or not living out. And I mean, there's a video that's gone around of a guy in Colorado, and he has a security camera in his home, and they heard something in the house. They heard like a door break. And so his wife, what does she say? Go down and check. So his whole family's in their beds. They're nervous because they heard something. And on the security camera in the house, he's walking down the stairs with his gun. And he gets to the kitchen, and quickly you see a bear. I think they're in Colorado, and he unloads on it. And he just calmly turns around and goes, everything's fine. He didn't lose his mind. I'm sure there was a moment afterwards where he was like, adrenaline just went away. But I watched that and I thought, he was prepared when the wolf came knocking, quite literally when
yeah,
the bear came knocking. And what did the family do? They said, who needs to go check on that noise? Well, the husband does.
yeah,
There was no question in that home who needs to go check. And I would just challenge anyone listening to this, especially dudes, if there's a question in your home, you need to fix that, because that's on you. That's not on them.
right.
That's on you not modeling it appropriately. On, hey, when things get rough, who are we looking to?
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. Whether it's whether it's spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, or professional, that you are the calming presence in the house. That you
Hmm.
are the person that everyone in the home looks to, and not just in the home. Like if you're doing it right, then other people are going to see that
Yep.
too. And but our obligation is to our family, and so. And our obligation is to God, and this is how you honor God. You honor God by taking care of you, the person that he put you here to be, in the best way that you can, so that you can take care of the people that he put here for you to take care of. So,
Yeah. And when you walk into a room, peace should come with you.
yeah,
And I think so often for men, because we're angry or aloof or whatever, there's uneasiness that comes in when we come in because they don't know which version they're getting. But the
right,
goal should be we open the door and it's daddy's home.
yeah,
That's what we want. Not a daddy's home. What does this mean? But oh my gosh, things are good because daddy's home.
yeah. I like that. I think that's a great place to end, because that's what I'm going to work on for this week, is to try to be that calming presence when everybody else gets home. I may need to take one of my kids and send them on vacation for a week to accomplish that. But but I'm going to do my best to. There's that sarcasm
Yep. No,
that
I get
comes
it.
with
I
my
get it.
emotions. But I think that's a good goal to have. I like that you ended that way, because that's what I'm going to try to do for this week.
Cool,
All right,
man.
man. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate you, and I look forward to the next one.
All right, man. See y'all.
All right. Thanks.